love children. Their organs are so fresh and soft.
Stop!
Released in 2004, 2 years after Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny, Onimusha 3, Demon Siege concludes the Nobunaga trilogy. In between the release of Onimusha 2 and Onimusha 3, we also had Onimusha Tactics on the Game Boy Advance, as well as Onimusha Blade Warriors on the PlayStation 2, the latter being more like a Super Smash Bros. Styled game. But these reviews will be focused on the main games. Like Onimusha 2, Samurai's Destiny, and Onimusha Warlords, a majority of the game has you running around killing the evil Genma, who have now invaded the fabric of time and attacked modern-day Paris in France. You play once more as Samanosuke Akechi, a hero from Onimusha Warlords, once again portrayed by the actor Takeshi Kaneshiro, as well as a new character, Jacques Blanc, voiced in French and portrayed by the actor Jean Reno. Also playable throughout the game is Jacques' fiancée, Michelle, who aids Samanosuke while he's in modern-day Paris, while protecting Jacques' son Henri. To aid the two of them on their quest is the Tengu Ako, who helps Samanosuke and Jacques, conveniently, break the language barrier, as well as acting as a messenger between the two. The game still maintains the elemental weapons, as well as the system of using souls to enhance them, while newer features such as the gift system from Onimusha 2 have been removed. The game takes place in 1582 during the attack on Honnoji Temple, in which historically an uprising led by Mitsuhide Akechi was able to kill Nobunaga Oda. However, in this game you play as Samanosuke, who, under the orders of his uncle Mitsuhide, enter Honnoji to confront Nobunaga, as well as his vassal Ranmaru Mori, and end things once and for all. Despite easily dispatching Ranmaru, Samanosuke's battle with Nobunaga is cut short as he disappears, only to reappear in Paris in the year 2004. After saving an understandably confused Jacques, another portal opens up and sucks Jacques back to 1582 Japan. The only way either of our heroes are going to get back home is to fix the other's timeline, with Jacques helping an alternate Samanosuke prior to the assault on Honnoji Temple, while Samanosuke tries to get to the bottom of why the Genma are in the future. So let's get the ball rolling and head over to the good. The first thing I'll start with is that they finally fixed the controls. While you can still move with the D-pad, movement can now be easily controlled by the left analog stick, which is a drastic improvement over the last two games. The variations of weapons available in Onimusha 3 Demon Siege are more unique than the ones I've seen in the previous games. Although Samanosuke begins with the 3 elemental swords he has at the end of Onimusha Warlords, he loses them upon appearing in Paris. Over the course of the game, he gains 3 new weapons: Tenso, the Twin Swords of Light, Kuga, the Nodachi of Air, and Chigo, the Earth Axe. Jacques, on the other hand, gets gifted with his own Oni Gauntlet, and on top of that he also gets the Oni Whip, and gets 3 elemental weapons over the course of the game too. Enja, which is a flaming bladed whip, the Raisen, which is an extendable electric spear, not to be confused with Samanosuke's Raizan, and the Hyosai, which is a morning star with ice powers. While the only new elements introduced are light, Tenso, and air, Kuga, Jacques' magical attacks do break the traditional mold the respective elements have been portrayed in previous games. An example being Raisen's magical attack isn't a combo of strikes before sending lightning down on the enemy. Instead, it's used to send a column of lightning down in front of Jacques to hit enemies in that direction. Both characters do have an ultimate weapon that they can receive late in the game, Jacques having the Ultimate Whip, which is a really original name, and Samanosuke having the Bishamon Sword, which makes a reappearance from its debut in Onimusha Warlords. Jacques' playstyle is also worth noting, as his whip-based weapons can also grab opponents and open up a few new avenues on how to deal with them. Jacqued can either pull the enemy closer to him and shoot them a few times to gain some red souls. He can also throw the enemy or use a magic attack on them to inflict extra damage. I also liked how this game handled the Onimusha transformation as well. In Onimusha 2, once Jubei had absorbed 5 purple souls, he would automatically transform, whereas in this game you can press R3 to transform as soon as you get the 5 purple souls, or when you really need to, or if you die while having 5 purple souls you automatically revive as the Onimusha. The special features from Onimusha 3 are great as well, the one in question being the Adventures of Heihachi. During the course of the game, Jacqued and alternate Samanosuke encounter a very powerful spearman by the name of Heihachiro Honda, based off Tadakatsu Heihachiro Honda, and this special feature covers a section of the game in which he is playable, as well as explains one of his appearances later on in the game when Jacqued bumps into him in the Undersea Temple. The setting of the game was a pretty unique mix, with Japan and France being the two main settings. Famous places such as the Arc de Triomphe, Notre Dame, the Bologna Zoo, Mont Saint-Michel, and the Eiffel Tower in France, and Mount Hiei, Sakai, Lake Biwa, and Honnoji Temple in Japan. The clash of cultures and timelines, as Mont Saint-Michel is visited in the past and the present, makes a pretty interesting setting to be running around killing Genma in, and I thoroughly enjoyed visiting all those places. What I didn't enjoy visiting, however, was the bad. Part of Jacqued's campaign has an area where you can gain an infinite amount of souls. Essentially all you need to do is stand in a particular spot and let the invincible NPC soldiers kill the Genma while holding the circle button to absorb all the souls. Once you clamp the circle button, go and do something for a couple of hours and come back. You essentially have enough souls to enhance all of Jacqued's gear to full if you haven't already. There was another bug I encountered while playing the Adventures of Heihachi. The bug involved a Genma soldier being stuck behind the drawbridge in Sakai, which resorted to me just standing there pressing triangle hoping to hit him and finally kill him. Some Genma even disappear when I attack them, and some of them even reappear in really stupid places, like in the middle of the sky at Mont Saint-Michel, which is, while somewhat amusing, does get very annoying, especially since the story doesn't progress, or in this case end, in the Adventures of Heihachi until you've defeated all the Genma. On top of that, I also felt that the Tengu Arco was more or less just tacked on to bypass the language barrier and plot holes of the story, while acting as a somewhat annoying sidekick who carries your things conveniently through the fabrics of time. While you can equip with the vests that provide various effects, providing that you went to the trouble of collecting eco spirits to power them, I felt that a lot of the effects of the vests more or less just made the game a lot easier than the previous two, as well as being a feature added so that she could be somewhat more relevant. Now with those complaints out of the way, we'll move on to the final part of this review. The Ugly, where I talk about the visuals of the game. Honestly, Onimusha 3 has aged pretty well visually. Now that static backgrounds are no longer used, there's more depth to the locations, and it doesn't feel like you're moving from one picture to another. A good example of this is in fact right at the start with the invasion on Honnoji Temple. The Demon Realm's overhaul with different coloured paths was a nice welcome change to the monotonous one-path gauntlets of the other two games too. Magical attacks look even better than the previous two games, with Tenso's magical attack probably being the prettiest magical attack to date, and Kuga's looking the most deadly out of the arsenal of weapons wielded by both characters. While the locations are somewhat linear, the enemy arrangements and puzzles presented in the game keeps the experience fresh and fun. I also like the alternate costumes for some of the characters too, as it makes the more serious scenes in the game pretty funny. Jacqued and Michelle get one costume each, while Samanosuke gets two, one of them being his alternate costume from Onimusha 1, with some minor differences. Overall, Onimusha 3 is an amazing game, and its replayability and gameplay have aged very well, which has made it my favourite game in the series, as well as one of my favourite games of all time. The final battle against Nobunaga in Honnoji Temple, and the events of the game in general, was a good way to close off the Nobunaga trilogy, and it's one of the very few games I'll replay any time and still enjoy as much as I did when I first played it. I could say more and more things about this game, but I feel that we're running out of time, so I'll give Onimusha 3, Demon Siege, a Tenso out of a Genma Sammonji. And with that, we come to the end of our review of Onimusha 3, Demon Siege. Stay tuned for the next episode of Infinite Backlog.